We're here again this year, tonight, to raise the flag of the Republic of Cyprus and the flag of the European Union as a defiance and resistance against the 46 years occupation of the island of the Republic of Cyprus by Turkey. This present President Erdogan has gone beyond the limits. He opens Pandora's box by changing the temple of Saint Sophia to a mosque, and there will be a lot of reactions. It's becoming like Pandora's box, and these all things we attack him and really find the end. But before I go on, I would like to tell you to have a minute silent for our beloved friend David Desmond, who unfortunately passed away last month. David has been a loyal supporter of Theatro Technis and the events about Cyprus. He videoed most of them. It's thanks to him that all the events are now on record and on the website. So shall we stand up for a minute silent for David? Now, I have written a poem about David. He deserves more than that. We should have a memorial evening later on. Not this week, but when the theater opens inside for his memory. Lee will read the poem just.
Disgusting. I can hear David's voice bouncing on the old narrow walls of Reading's magistrate court, where a young arrogant lady judge had his trial about the custody of his mid-90s-year-old mum, whom he had taken care of and looked after for over 13 years, almost on his own, without much help, battling against the authoritarianism of a rigidity of some suburban Middle England social services that were praised by the judge in a brief summary. Disgusting. The lonely voice shattered once again the judicial highly respectable walls in vain. A voice in the wilderness. To the dismay of a handful of his friends, who had travelled all the way from London in defence of David, in the lack of any official legal representation, which he could not afford. All of Mrs. Efivuli's finances, including the house that she owns, will be administered by the local authority, declared by Her Majesty's highly paid servant. Disgusting. David's outcry shattered once more the complacent magistrate and court walls. Madam, I dare say, may I? No, waste of time, the case is closed. But I came all the way from London. If you don't keep quiet, I'll call the guards. David had got involved with us at the theatre in the middle of the 70s, when he organised some lectures about old age, especially the old man, by the Austrian philosopher Arnold Kaiserling, author of Tuning the Mind, at our railway shed theatre near King's Cross, and later on at this present building since the early 1980s, when he got involved in some of our social and cultural projects: the Cypriot Advisory Service, the Luncheon Club, the Filea Housing Project, the King's Cross Development Scheme, and his early humble beginnings. Filming most of our productions and events, the like of Cyprus Week, a sanctuary challenge for the rights of Cypriot refugees and justice for Cyprus, 1/3 of which it's being invaded and occupied since July 1974, including his beloved Kyrenia, where he was born of Greek, Cypriot and Russian descent. One of his uncles was the editor of Cyprus Weekly. His mother was working for the American radio station, first at Cyprus, at Karavas, then in Greece, where David had come to join her there, then in Israel, and finally here in the UK, at Reading, where he bought a house for her and lived with her, looking after her. Soon after she had retired, filming and making videos of most important events with regard to the UN attempts for a just and viable solution to crime committed by the Republic of Cyprus through a bizonal, bi-communal federation, which he criticised as apartheid, taxing, partition. There are more than two communities in the islands, so it was unacceptable, disgusting. He passionately supported the lobby for Cyprus, filming most of their activities for justice for Cyprus. His caring for his old mother, who was diagnosed with severe dementia, was a priority, the disease that he was diagnosed with too. He was hoping that the social services would provide the right support they both needed. They offered machinery instead of people, to help him carry his mum from place to place, to remain human, to not be treated like vegetables, all in vain. The voice in the wilderness, disgusting. The situation had reached dramatic Shakespearean climax about 3-4 years ago, when David's sister, Tatiana, and her Canadian soldier husband had visited him and his mum to celebrate Easter. At lunchtime, David had lifted his mum to carry her from the bed to the dinner table, when his brother-in-law had appeared at the top of the stairs and hit David, throwing him and his mother on the floor. David started kicking the intruder. When his sister saw that, she rang the police, who came and arrested David and took him and his mum to the hospital. David, being a filmmaker, filmed the incident with a camera fixed on the ceiling, and when the police saw it, they released him, while his mother was handed to the social services, who took her to a home in another town rather than Reading, allowing David to visit her on Sundays only. And even that had soon stopped. Disgusting. Hamlet's question, to be or not to be, had long ago entered his entire thinking. Not to be was his answer. To kill himself. He talked a lot about this during the court case, but nobody took any notice of it, especially the social services. And they'd known of his predicament. Like his mum, he was suffering from severe dementia. He went without kissing her or even saying goodbye to her. The authorities made sure her vegetable sleep is not disturbed. Now who would bear the oppressor's wrong, the law's delay? To die to sleep, perhaps a dream. Cruelty is an aberration rather than a norm. Justice has no time. Dr. Faustus, frustrated with futility in religion, law and science, searches for a deeper understanding of the universe, along with the fame and power that will bring Mephistopheles, Lucifer's own servant. He makes a pact with the devil. 24 years of absolute knowledge for exchange of his soul.
Yet with me. He was a loss. He would have been 69 years old. There you are. Couldn't go on. He wasn't killed by the virus, but by the authoritarianism of the institutions and their ignorance. It's the same ignorance that Erdogan, the president of the Turkey today, who tries to revive the Ottoman Empire and his religious Islamic faith, he will fail. No, a bunch of Mongols went to Byzantium and they were welcomed by the emperor because at that time there was the trouble with the Crusaders who passed through Byzantium looting everything. The emperor did not have an army, so he used these auxiliary horsemen. They were fantastic horsemen. They did everything on a horse. And they still realized that the emperor had no strength. And they started conquering land, a bit of land here, a bit of land there, eradicate the people, and that's how Turkey was created. Genocide of the Armenians, the Greeks, and the Kurds. They're trying to do that. They haven't succeeded yet. The struggle continues for the liberation of Cyprus, but the negotiations that they organized, the Americans, England, Europe, and NATO for a bi-communal federation they're stagnant, they are not moving forward. And it's about time that they stick behind the Republic of Cyprus. I see now America is beginning to move in that direction. She's establishing a military training center in Cyprus which will counteract the military occupation by Turkey. Turkey has eventually moved out of Cyprus, leave Cyprus to the Cypriots, to other Cypriots, Greeks, Turks, Armenians, Maronites, Russians, whatever nationality, is international community. And that's the way forward. We should establish an independent party of the Republic of Cyprus for the next elections, because the two main parties in Cyprus, the AGEL and DC, the Conservative Party, they supported the negotiations. They don't want to think about them taking legal action. It's about time legal action is taken to the International Criminal Court of in Hague for the crimes that they committed for Cyprus, and not only for Cyprus, but for the whole world, since they moved from Mongolia to Europe. It's about time the Turkish Cypriots realize where they belong. They belong to the Republic of Cyprus. The young people in Turkey are beginning to revolt. There is a movement now against Erdogan by the young people, the students. He brought the election, the examinations a man forward, which affected a lot of the young people, and they're taking a stand against him. Let's hope they will get rid of him, and whoever takes over will be better. Kemal Atatürk, because he was involved in the battle, he killed a lot of Greeks. He realized how much blood the Greeks has sacrificed. Therefore, he didn't want the islands of Aegean, Belarus, and left it to the Greeks. Now Erdogan wants them. He even wants Crete. You know, he's mad. Therefore, let's hope that the Turkish Cypriot will be join the Greek Cypriots for a Republic of Cyprus. When the Greek Cypriots started the uprising in the 50s, there was a famous Turkish poet, socialist poet, Niyazi Hikmet, who sent letters to the Turkish Cypriots saying, join the Greeks against the British imperialism, British colonization. But their leader, who was a young barrister, Raouf Dektaş, was bribed by the British intelligence, and he joined them and encouraged the Turkish Cypriots to become the auxiliary police against the Greek Cypriots, and that was the biggest mistake they made. You know, the British used the Turkish Cypriot, using the principle divide and rule. I hope they will succeed. Macmillan, Harold Macmillan was the Prime Minister at that time, and he was the first one to introduce the concept of community, because he wanted to create the impression that the uprising in Cyprus was not anti-colonized uprising, but it was a division between the two communities, the Greeks and Turkish Cypriots were at each other's throat. It was not the case. And the leader of the Turkish Cypriots, he burned mosques in order to say that the Greeks done it. There was a murder, a husband killed his wife and children and said that the Greek Cypriots did it. Terrible. Let the world know about what Turkey has done so that we wake up and stop. It's like Hitler. He gets on with murder, you know. Long live the Republic of Cyprus. Let's raise the flags. The flag of the Republic of Cyprus and the flag of the European Union. Let's raise it for a great year. A reminder to the world of the defiance and the resistance. We all raise the flags.
Bravo.
Republic of Cyprus. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Don't look at the lens.